Welcome to the channel, you bunch of stinky weebs. Always nice to have you guys back. Today we're going to be talking about Xbox versus PlayStation from a PC user stand of perspective, I guess. Now, if you like these videos, leave a like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Every bit of help really helps by the mile. It's a huge pat on my back. It's like that one time that one girl told you you looked cute or they liked your shirt. You know, there's some staying power behind this, this help. So we're going to be talking about PlayStation and Xbox. Now I'm going to have this Xbox Game Pass roster kind of up in the background. Read at it through your leisure. I'm just going to be talking about my perspective on the Xbox versus PlayStation state of affairs. I'm a PC gamer. I see value more in PC. I moved away from Xbox. I had an Xbox One X, moved to a PC simply because I saw more value in PC. Cheaper games. I don't have to upgrade my hardware every so many years. Obviously, it's like once every 6-7 years that you have to upgrade hardware, but you can stay longer on your same hardware and extract more value from the equipment you buy that way. Nintendo's in the corner doing its own thing. Their IPs are amazing. Nintendo IPs are second to none. There's a reason why Nintendo IPs are probably some of the best selling franchises. They do very well in Japan and they do very well in foreign countries. Nintendo is a juggernaut that does its own thing, and that's respectable. Xbox and PlayStation. Now, PlayStation has beautiful first party exclusives. God of War, Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn, the list goes on. PlayStation has really good exclusives. That's what PlayStation does very well. PlayStation also has a lot of good Eastern games that are kind of indie, right? A lot of Japanese games come to PlayStation and they get dubbed English. So if you're into that, PlayStation's more your thing. Xbox, on the other hand, doesn't have that. Sure, there's indie games, but if indie games get released, they get released on both consoles. If not, they have some kind of exclusivity contract with Xbox or PlayStation for a certain amount of time, and then they get released for both. Xbox's exclusives have been absolute shit. Halo, that's the one exclusive I want to nail down on. Halo is absolutely egregious. Halo 1, masterclass. Halo 2, masterclass. Halo 3, absolute peak. Obviously, you can fight about which one of the original trilogy was better. Halo 4 was mediocre. Halo 5 was insulting. Halo Infinite was dastardly, okay? If I feel with every new iteration of Halo under Bungie developer has been sucking more and more. Obviously, you can say, hey, Halo 4 and Halo 5 had good gameplay, combat was good, it was snappy, graphics were good, maps were good, or whatever you want to say was good about the game. That's a kernel of good, a piece of, like a corn kernel of good stuck between a shit, It's hard to appreciate the kernel of good when it's just embedded in a huge piece of shit. It's hard. Halo Infinite was released. It was going to be released with shit graphics, right? Looked like original Xbox graphics. They got backlash. They delayed the game. They released the game with better shaders and all that. That's fine. But then there was no content. God forbid. I don't know what they did. Maybe it took them like the extra time just to implement this extra shader. There was no content. The campaign was pretty good. The online, there was nothing there, right? It needed more meat on its bones. Xbox should remove Bungie from being the developer from Halo. Period, right? Like I said before, I did have an Xbox. I firsthand played every single Halo game ever. And like I said, all of them sucked ass except for the original trilogy and Halo ODST. ODST was pretty good. So Xbox exclusives, nothing to write home about. But Microsoft, here's where the tables turn, has been on a buying spree. They buy small to medium developers And lately they've been buying larger developers to pad out the value on this, their Game Pass. Game Pass, I thought, was something Insidious Xbox was going to do in order to, I don't know, God knows what they were going to do. I felt like they were going to do this to cheat you out of some more money, add extra tiers, so people are pressured to buy the large instead of the small because the price difference is so small. I just thought in the beginning there wasn't going to be enough value, and that was true in the beginning. Now though, the Xbox Game Pass with all of its acquisitions and all of the third-party games that have given permission to Xbox and have obviously received a bit of payment from Xbox to add their games to Game Pass. The Game Pass offers extraordinary value, right? Let's say for me, I want to play some new titles coming out from Xbox. Xbox tells me, for sure, you don't need to have a console. Give us $10 a month. We'll let you have our more than 100 game roster, and we can, all Xbox Game Studio titles are available the same day release. That right there is value, right? Since Microsoft owns Bethesda, guess what? All of Bethesda games are going to come out on Game Pass day one. If you're planning on buying the new Fallout or the new Starfield or whatever game Bethesda is making, you can try it out here with little to no risk. You can just download the game and play it and see if you like it. Right? It's a very good deal. Now, the reason I believe PlayStation is so desperate to get Xbox away from Activision Blizzard is because of this. If Microsoft manages to buy out Activision Blizzard, that will add a tremendous amount of padding to the Game Pass, right? Imagine every year's Call of Duty being offered for free on the Game Pass because Activision is owned by Microsoft. If you're a parent and you're buying a console for your kids and you're aware of this, you're probably going to end up buying an Xbox because that's $60 you don't need to spend every year buying the new Call of Duty when, that's basically covered under the subscription model to play online anyway. PlayStation is probably seeing this and is terrified. PlayStation is not worried that Call of Duty is going to be ripped from their hands. PlayStation is not worried that Microsoft is going to release a buggier version of the games for the PlayStation port. PlayStation is worried that people are going to go to the Xbox because these games will be offered for free download under their subscription service. And if people aren't going to PlayStation and buying the game at full price at $60, they're not going to be breaking even on the consoles, right? Because with consoles, in order to offer them at the price point they do, they have to, kind of break even on them. Microsoft and PlayStation aren't earning huge profit margins off the consoles. Where they get their money from is from the video games they sell, accessories. That's where they make their money. If people aren't buying their consoles, then there's an issue, right? So I believe that at the end of the day, this is where it is. PlayStation is terrified that Xbox is going to offer so much value for their subscription service that it's basically going to eclipse PlayStation. Obviously, PlayStation has a bit of a foothold thanks to their really good exclusives, but that can only get them so far in the normie market, right? You can have several games that come out a year that win a bunch of prizes, but if those games don't hit mainstream and don't become extremely successful, then they are not going to be making their chunk of change that they want. However boggles the mind though, I believe if your competitor is offering so much value that you would scrape up whatever you have and offer that, right? PlayStation has great amounts of exclusives, a great indie roster from the East that's unique, can appeal to a portion of people, to my fellow weebs. I'm sure you like all the anime games that PlayStation has that Xbox doesn't. PlayStation can offer some type of pass that includes these titles. However, recently, PlayStation removed all the games that it had in PlayStation Plus. I talked about this before. I think it was like 15 or 16 titles that was under PlayStation Plus, and they removed those games from free download. You have to buy them piecemeal now. Games like Last of Us and God of War, I believe, were included in this PlayStation Pass. But PlayStation removed it. It basically shot itself in the foot. It doesn't want to commit to a race with Xbox. It's basically cutting out the grizzle, even though it needs this extra padding. It needs this value, and it just doesn't want to compete with Xbox. Xbox is saying, hey, we can give you Call of Duty for the next 10 years. Again, I believe that Microsoft doesn't care who's able to play Xbox on what console, because at the end of the day, they're going to be owning Call of Duty and they're going to be getting the money from it. You know, if not, they're going to be having that subscription service on PC. They're going to get their money back. They planted that seed, and this seed grew into a damn tree and is shadowing PlayStation. PlayStation, they say, no, we don't want a 10-year commitment from Xbox for Call of Duty, because we're scared of the value that Game Pass can bring. On top of that, PlayStation doesn't even want to commit to creating a competitor for Call of Duty. They do not want to create an exclusive or a multi-platform game, made by PlayStation that can compete with Call of Duty. They do not want to make a Medal of Honor, lookalike, or Call of Duty lookalike. They feel like their studios aren't up to it, but their studios have made God of War, Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn. PlayStation studios are exquisite with their game crafting. Now imagine that game crafting applied to a multiplayer. They have 10 years, or within 10 years, to release a game with these very talented studios. Obviously, PlayStation hasn't produced an exclusive that's that wide of a net when it comes down to multiplayer. However, there's a first time for everything. PlayStation should hunker down, create a something that they can own that's a competitor to Call of Duty. Obviously, they can produce something like Battlefield, maybe, because Battlefield right now is sucking ass. Or they can buy up a studio that has, games that are similar to Battlefield to compete with Call of Duty. Pump in money and produce talent for these studios, these smaller studios that produce these games, and back their projects. But PlayStation doesn't want to. I do not know why they do not want to. It's like they're paralyzed in fear, or they're just paralyzed in their protests of Xbox and the Activision merger. They just do not want to move. They do not want to add value. They do not want to be pro-consumer. I do not understand. Xbox has all its faults. It needs exclusives. It bought up a bunch of studios. God knows what they're making. I haven't heard of anything good. Remember Sea of Thieves? Forza is a good game, I guess, but I'm not into racing. Xbox needs more first-person exclusives. PlayStation has first-person exclusives, but it doesn't offer the value Xbox does. It is... I don't know. I do not know what's going on. All I know is that as a PC person, the person in the middle, I'm going to be winning, because at the end of the day, PlayStation has kind of tasted the money that PC players will be willing to give them for their first-person exclusive or first-party exclusives, like Returnal. Returnal was a fantastic game that got ported to PC. Horizon Zero Dawn, again, fantastic game. I think The Last of Us 2 got recently ported as well. PlayStation needs to move. It needs to add value. It needs to do something. It needs to produce wonderful games. They need to produce multiplayer games. I don't want to say live service, but they need to produce a game with staying power. Live service can do that with great multiplayer, great story. PlayStation can do it, but they, for whatever reason, they just don't want to, and that's on them. So I'm almost certain the Xbox Activision merger is going to go through, and if it does, I'm sure PlayStation's going to take the brunt of it, because I don't think they can compete with this value. They're just choosing not to. All right, offer more, not give less. All right, so that's been the video. Hope you liked it. I'll catch you guys in the next one.